Wow, now I'm really short.
Huh?
Now I'm really short.
Oh, you want a taller chair?
Well, I had one, but it felt really tall, but now this feels really short.
Good morning, everyone. You saw the restroom code is on the wall here on the way out the door there, 0315. Huh? 0315.
It's right there. You can.
Hi, Dave.
Have you been to the show before?
That's 0314.
The day after Pi Day. Think about it that way. I feel like I was just here. We had a class of 42 last night, hands-on, which is a beast in this kitchen. 42 hands-on. Typically, we try to stop at 24 hands-on, but when a company really wants to, and they promise to buy a lot of good wine,
You can't resist. What'd you make? Or what did
last
they
night we had chicken cacciatore,
make?
Roman gnocchi, the semolina gnocchi, a radicchio salad, saba glazed carrots,
Yum.
and chocolate olive oil cake.
Oof, I love olive oil cake. We've got a little gnocchi section today.
Shall we get started? You know what you're going to have for breakfast? Well, it's going to be a surprise then. Because when Annie's cooking, you never know what's going to come out. Chef Annie is here today. We're so thrilled to have the A team in place. Annie, are you the A team or the B team? C team. You are welcome to talk amongst yourselves during the show. Just can't be too loud that we can distinguish your voices. Drew is over there. Why are you so happy this morning? Annie got you up at 4:30. Nice. Were you not supposed to work today? Okay. Sean's our technical director. He's over on the board. Becky has decided to come off a vacation and join us for the first time in a month. 2 months.
2 weeks.
2 months, maybe. She's been floating down the Rhone. What river did you float
Actually,
down?
Burgundy.
The Rhone. That's the
yeah.
Rhone. Yeah. Isn't it?
No, it's just a Burgundy canal. It was
The
a
canal-
canal.
oh, the
I mean,
canal.
the canals are just as big as the boat.
Uh-huh.
It's a very,
Did you run into any barge traffic jams?
just one. There was one where it was a tricky passing, but I wasn't driving, so I didn't care.
Just say, I'll have another glass of wine. And just walk.
Exactly.
I've been getting hooked on reels. Do you know reels? Of course you know reels.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
And I watched one the other day where the captain fell asleep and they ran into a rock mountain. It's just like,
They're addicting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just say no.
Never thought I'd see the day.
somebody said to me the other day, or somebody said to Jackie, God, I saw this on reels. And they just looked at her and said, yeah, that was probably 20 days ago on TikTok. Like, oh, sorry.
That's cute.
Wasn't cute.
No.
It was obnoxious. Which makes me think that maybe Loretta said it to me, but no, it wasn't.
It wasn't me.
All right.
I'm going to party motivate today. So if you see me like this, please clap. Otherwise, it's just awkward. I'm only clapping for myself.
Otherwise, she's like Madonna and Desperately Seeking Susan. Remember that, smelling her pits and Desperately Seeking Susan?
I've never
With
seen
Rosanna Arquette and Madonna?
that. Never seen it.
Oh, my
It
God.
was a long time ago. Yep.
Oh, my God.
When she
You know,
was
Madonna
lit.
came to Cafe Sport during that shoot, and I fed her breakfast. Is that somebody I know? Oh, that's way before my time.
Unlike
That's
Madonna.
what I cooked for one of my heroes, Carol Channing. I'm a musical
Oh.
buff, and she came to Wilmington, Delaware, the Wilmington Hotel DuPont,
Uh-huh.
and I cooked for her, and I was so excited. And then her team brought in a case of sterilized water in the glass bottles, like from the hospital that they put on the IV, and a case of organic zucchini. And that was my job, was to steam the zucchini
Oh, geez.
for her 3 meals a day. I don't know if you ever saw her, but she's skinnier than you.
Yeah.
She was a tiny woman.
And
Yeah.
worked at it.
So if you ever want to lose weight, now you know how to do it.
I need to go on a zucchini steamed diet.
Do you? How many
I'm
pounds
just-
did you put on in
2
France?
weeks in.
4 pounds?
Uh-huh.
Oh my
But I'm
God.
down to 3.
You're down to 3 now.
It was all cheese.
Worth it.
So good.
Did you have any Epoisse
I
or
did have-
Mont d'Or?
We didn't have the Mont d'Or, but we had the Epoisse from Bourguignon.
And was it ripe?
So it was not.
Did it
super-
smell up the whole barge?
No,
That it's
it
not
was-
good enough.
Well, that's kind of what I heard you say, but it was delicious.
Yeah, yeah, you got to smell the barge.
couldn't stop, couldn't let
Mount
it sit.
d'Or, you smell you.
You did okay.
Oh,
okay,
it just transfers
Yeah.
really fast. We had that when we were at Chateau du Fay
Mountain
in
Dew.
Burgundy when we
So
stayed at
good.
Anne Willen's chateau.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, lame.
We cooked for Anne Willen. So there. You know, we call her Madame la Grand Bouffe because she was a touchy one, that one,
Yeah.
like a big bull. You think he was hungover? Come on. In a band called The Animals. Although I say that, and you know, we do the backstage meals for all the bands at the Paramount. And when Megadeth came through, they were all vegans. We weren't even allowed to serve meat in our intermission in our own service out in the lobby. They didn't want meat in the building. And how do you have a band called Megadeth and be all vegans?
Blows the image.
It's the craziest thing. All right, let's get started here at the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. Yay! We are back in the house with our producer Becky has wound her way back from Europe.
Yep.
France
Thank
only, or
goodness.
just
France only. The
France
Burgundy,
only? Good for
Paris
you.
and the Burgundy region.
Yeah, that's the way to go as far as I'm concerned. If you want to do all the others, just go again.
Yep.
That's the way I feel about it.
Sure.
It's my
Casual.
Why
Just
not?
go again.
Just go again. Thank you for rejoining us.
Oh,
You had
Thank goodness, Becky.
You had 2
Aw.
months to figure out if you wanted to rejoin the show or
2
not.
weeks.
Oh, that's-
And I did listen to him. You guys did a great job. I felt a little left out.
Feel
but-
left out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be
Sean
back.
is here.
my producing skills were subpar.
No, awesome.
Your producing skills were awesome. It's when she had to produce and host.
Yeah.
is
Tricky.
things. Sean is here, on our technical director. Thanks, Sean, for being here. We were all here last night doing a class here at the Hot Stove, the largest hands-on class I think I've ever done.
How many people?
42 people,
Wow.
all cooking at the same time in this kitchen.
84 hands on.
Yeah, 84 hands-on. Normally, you know what I always say at the beginning of class, especially when it's large like that, I always say, you know, if anyone doesn't really want to cook, just go hang by the bar, have a nice glass of wine, blah, blah, blah. Everyone wanted to cook.
That's great.
It was awesome. It was wild. We had every stove, every oven going like crazy. All right, big show today. We're here at the Hotel Andra in downtown Seattle. It's a beautiful hotel at 4th and Virginia, the hotel that hosts our restaurant Lola. If you've ever been there, across the street from the Dahlia Bakery and Serious Pie, and the new Neb. We'd love to see you at Neb. I was there last night for spaghetti pizza night.
Oh, ET's birthday.
E.T.'s
Eric
birthday
Tanaka's-
spaghetti pizza. It was really good.
Annual celebration.
Uh-huh.
He loves spaghetti pizza. Did you see how he made it? Because I did not.
I didn't see how he made it, but I did order one, and it was delicious.
It was the bomb.
Yeah, it was
I
really
have been
good.
poo-pooing this pizza since I've known him 25 years, and it was the bomb. And it was like a beautiful pizza crust,
Uh-huh.
really nicely charred, and then just a big ass pile of spaghetti right
But
on
really
top of it.
simple, like light sauce.
Lots of butter,
Lots of butter, a lot of basil. I mean, it
cheese.
ended up tasting weirdly fresh, considering that you were having a pile of pasta on top of a pizza. But it was really good.
You just cut it in half and then fold it, and then
Okay,
you've got a
yeah.
little sandwich of a spaghetti sandwich.
Like a little calzone.
No, because
No.
calzones are kind of covered and
And then they're
cooked.
crimped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
But
good.
next one, I guess the next pop up is spaghetti and meatball pizza.
Ooh, I'm going.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's in a month or two at
Great.
NEB. So super, super fun. We've been working hard on getting Half Shell open. We opened this weekend down
Woo.
where Edda's was in the Pike Place Market. Loretta, who Edda was named after 30 or so years ago, changed the name to Half Shell.
I
You
love
took
it.
her name-
First opportunity I got, I went.
She took her name off the cover. Yeah, exactly. So super fun. I was shucking 40 dozen oysters with my pal Ophelia down there the other day for our pre-opening
Uh-huh.
kind of
Neighborhood. Yeah, party.
Yeah,
Kind of.
here's who we are. Here's what we're going to look like. Here's what the menu looks like, kind of thing. And I had just put a drill bit through my finger. So shucking oysters on top of my stitches just
Yeah.
it was
You've
interesting.
had some bad luck with that hand and tools.
This hand is troublesome. Turns out when you work for a living, stuff happens. We have a couple upcoming classes here at the Hot Stove, including Drink Like an Italian. And we're going to choose the city Rome this time. So Food of Rome and cocktail master Julie Ross will be here with Chef Bridget. Mediterranean Meze with Chef Bridget. You know, she co-hosts the show kind of every other week. And the night market, you know, Chef Franz, who is a kind of the school chef here at the Hot Stove, is in the Philippines right now visiting his family, but he's coming back with some new and interesting night market fun.
That sounds like fun.
So we're going to do a night market Franz Palatinos class, again with cocktails by Julie Ross. On today's show, the Hot Stove Society Tasting Panel dives into Dijon mustard. I can't imagine why we're doing this today, Becky.
I was just in Dijon
Oh,
and
were
I brought
you?
some home.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're sharing it with us.
Absolutely.
And does the audience get to share it too?
Yes. Yes. I hope
Wow, you guys are
Hope
you
they
like
have some
mustard.
water.
today. We celebrate the season with soups, starting with spring vegetables. And I think this is where people make the biggest mistakes, is with spring soups.
How so?
I'm going to
Gonna
tell you.
have to wait and see,
Oh.
Becky.
I'm going to tell you. Remind me to tell
Riveted.
you.
Okay.
Simple to Spectacular, our weekly tribute to honor Chef Terry by talking through one of his Rover's recipes out of the book Rover's Cookbook. We're going to do what? Little halibut?
Alaskan halibut with manila clams, petite peas, and peppercress.
Petite peas. I know he used frozen peas.
He even rats himself out.
Did he
there.
rat
Yeah,
himself?
yeah.
Okay, fine. He might buy. Do they have like mini frozen peas?
Yeah, and he talks about that because he's.
Oh,
'cause
there's
he was a little
they
mean.
do have different ones.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I thought it was just a little French thing. We're going to explore the world of making gnocchi. I made Roman gnocchi last night
Mm.
for my class. Love those things. And we welcome Chris Whitaker, owner of Side Hustle Tap Room and Scratch Kitchen in Kirkland, the Bellevue Brewing. What was that?
James Whitaker.
James Whitaker. What did I say, Chris?
Uh-huh.
I don't know why that happened. And of course, we're going to finish the show playing Rub with Love, Food for Thought, Tasty Trivia. So, Becky, while you were gone, Loretta made some really bad errors. Oh no, I guess Bridget was doing
Actually, I think it was you.
Oh,
Because something about
uh-huh.
cars. You
That's
get
what I
hit
thought.
by a car on the
getting
beach.
hit by a car.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
not.
Well, we had a little segment a couple weeks ago, I think, the first week you were gone, on razor clamming.
I love razor clamming.
Do you?
Yeah,
So
so
maybe
fun.
you know something
I
about
should
it.
have waited till you were here to talk about this because one of us should have known something about it. Apparently, as
Well,
we got.
Bridget said she knew something about it. She said she did it
She
as
knew
a kid.
something, but
Yeah.
she missed a few bits.
Okay, so tell us what we missed here. We had a long, I'll say, maybe the longest letter we've ever received as a radio show from Lorna Folis. Thank you, Lorna. It was so fun to read, and we felt like idiots afterwards. But we got some things right. Like I said, how I like to cook them. I got that
Yep.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Lorna says, and we believe her because why?
Because she was the former president of the Long Beach Visitors Bureau and who's clammed all her life. In fact, she just took her 9-year-old grandson out a couple weeks ago.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so tell us what Lorna had to say to correct what she perceived as our foibles, as our our mistakes.
Well, this is just a summary. She says, regarding safety, don't fear about getting run over. Cars drive on wet sand by dunes, not where clammers are digging at low tide.
Okay, so that's a little esoteric. I just said watch out for cars.
Have you ever driven on Long Beach?
I have driven
Yeah.
on Long Beach. Yeah.
It's huge. I think, like, just for
Don't you
peop-
still? It's dark. Don't you think you should watch out for cars?
Hopefully the
Sure.
lights are on. Yes.
Okay.
But she did say every year someone does die by getting swept out to the ocean. Locals teach their kids never turn your back on the ocean.
I thought that was a really good lesson. I hadn't
Yeah.
really thought about it. Don't
Yeah.
turn your back on the ocean
And that's
because
just common practice anywhere in the
rogue
world.
waves come up all the time, and it's dark, and it's
See, we learned some safety issues
Tides
on the cooking
change.
show. I love
Yeah.
it. And then the limit is 15 per.
Lorna, thank you for saving my life.
The limit
For all
is
that clamming that you do.
Yeah.
there is a 15 per person limit, but you have to take every clam you dig. I think Bridget said you could put it back if they're too small. You can't because the seagulls will then get them because they pop right out the holes.
Oh.
And so you just take what you get, and you're looking for 6, 7, and 8 inches are the biggest.
So what
ones.
happens if you get a 2-inch clam?
That's
have to take
yours.
it.
That's one of your 15.
Oh, you don't get
Yeah.
busted for having too small a
No,
clam like
and-
you would a crab. A crab
right.
you'd get busted
Right.
for that, right? So
And then she said she's never seen anyone eat a razor clam raw on the beach. It must be cleaned as they're full of sand, and I have to agree with that.
totally. Who
Yep.
said that?
I think
That was
Bridget.
like, yeah.
Bridget's
I
not here.
thought It
Let's
was
say it
in
was
the
Bridget.
article that I was
Oh, maybe so.
working on, but we'll just say Bridget. She's not here to defend herself.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the delicacy of the razor clam is the digger foot. And then her final bit is fried razor clams in her house were gold. Her mother never put them in a chowder unless they were so mangled by the digger or cleaner that frying was out of the question. So thank you for setting us straight, Lorna.
That was very sweet. I
Yes.
appreciated the effort in her letter
Mhm.
to set us straight. I feel like a little bit that we were okay in,
Oh, I
in
think
our
so.
world of talking about clamming.
Yeah. But
But
you're talking to
We
the
weren't
president.
specific. I know we're talking to the president.
Yeah.
She's the POTUS of clams.
Yes. And she was very appreciative that you mentioned the festival that's happening this weekend on the 10th, the Razor Clam Festival, the 10th through 12th. So she said, thank you for that.
So she can. So I know the people sometimes don't hear our show until the
Mhm.
11th, so they can
Mhm.
still go down on Sunday the 12th. It's still
Yep.
happening.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Good. Make your way to Long Beach.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be
And
an
drive on
amazing
wet
weekend.
sand, and don't turn your back to the ocean.
Never.
Don't hit clammers.
Loretta, our restaurant Half Shell is opening this week. We finished our recipe development. We
Yep.
finished our menu tastings.
Yep.
We've had our mini opening kind of a party for the neighborhood. What is your favorite thing so far?
Okay, well, the Mishima Reserve steak frites is just like a gift.
It's the
It's a
bomb.
gimme. It's
Yeah.
so good. It's just a perfect steak. We're doing really good fries. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But on our kind of like outside of that menu,
It is a seafood restaurant, by the way.
this-
That's the surf. The
the
It's the
sleeper,
turf of the
it's the
surf.
turf of the surf. Okay.
the sleeper hit for me has been the shrimp nuggets.
Really?
Yeah, they're so good.
You were so poo-pooing
I know.
those.
I totally was poo-pooing them. I thought it was silly, but they're doing these ginger shrimp nuggets with like a chili crisp
Ooh.
side situation, smashed cucumber. They're really good.
And is that the one that was on the
On
little
the slider,
brioche
yeah.
slider
For happy
bun?
hour, we do them as sliders, and then on the regular menu, you just get a pile of nuggets, and they're
That's
really good.
like an elevated popcorn shrimp.
They're bigger though, like a chicken nugget size, but made out of.
Some of us don't know what chicken nugget size means.
Oh yeah, some of us live under rocks
You know, the bomb.
without toddlers.
The bomb is the chili crisp on top because you
I
get that
mean,
little
Your
crunch.
chili crisp obsession runs very deep.
Yes, it does. I think it's the bomb. And the smashed cucumbers are the rage already.
And it
They
cools
have-
down with the crisp, with the chili, right?
Well, the chili crisp isn't generally. I mean, some on the marketplace are extremely hot, but most of the ones, including the one that kind of started the craze, is not particularly spicy. So,
What about you?
well, you're right. The steak frite was the bomb with
Yeah.
the little mignonette aioli.
Oh,
Did
so
you try
good.
that?
Yeah, it's so
yeah.
good.
Oh, it's our mignonette at Seatown that we turn into a mayonnaise kind of for dip for the fries.
Mhm.
Super delicious.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
I
know
was,
why? Because it's a more vinegar based with the
Yeah.
fatty mayo.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was there for the final French fry taste off yesterday. and
Uh-huh.
Approved.
It's a good time to sit down at a restaurant is for a
It
French
really
fry
is. It
tasting.
really is. Okay, speaking of tasting, we're going to jump into Dijon mustard. Becky has returned from France with an armload of mustard. And then, did you put mine out there too?
We did. That's the
Okay.
surprise one at the end.
All right, good.
Because it's not fair to compare.
Yeah, they're different. On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. These muffins look awesome, Annie. Yeah. Some of us have natural muffin tops.
When is Half Shell open?
Saturday.
The 11th.
Oh, wow. In time for Mother's Day.
We have two practice dinners with our team, Thursday and Friday, and then Saturdays for real.
All right, where are we at?
I know that.
Hey, Annie, why are these blueberry muffins especially good today? The batter looks looser to me, which gives it that kind of float out of the tin, which gives you the crispy top.
She can make muffins, just not Rice Krispies. A lot of mustard.
Oh, I need some ham or something.
Sausages.
Oh, we were saying we need some ham. Where's the ham?
I know we're stopping sausage.
All right, we're back here in the kitchen on Cairo Radio. I'm Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
I forgot to introduce you in the first segment, didn't I? Loretta Douglas is the chief legal counsel for our company, also owner of the restaurants, and also the mother of my grandchildren, and also is my daughter. You're a lot of things.
A lot of things. Yeah.
And the co-host of this show every other week. Okay, mustard. Becky, tell us how we got to this spot here with Dijon mustard.
Well, I was just in Dijon, and it's mustard seeds all over and just beautiful. So I picked up a couple bottles there, and then picked
So
up.
the mustard fields were in bloom?
Yes, but this is kind of interesting. 80% of the mustard seeds are actually produced in Canada.
Yeah,
So
Alberta area.
do you remember when they
Yeah.
had that shortage in 2020, and the French couldn't have their mustard?
You know where the other large percentage is?
Where?
Ukraine.
Yes, I knew that, and they do a lot of the yellow seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
kind of a conflicts of situations that led to a shortage. But
Yep.
now we don't have a shortage. So I wanted to pick a mustard that's all the same. I love the stone ground and all the different types, but
Right.
we'd have 20 mustards here. So we just wanted to profile.
Well, we already have 8, so
Well, that's true.
Yeah, just go on Dijon, right?
Yep.
Because a Creole mustard, like a seedy mustard, is brings a whole different something
Right.
to the
Or
game.
an English mustard or
yeah, like
American.
a Coleman's,
Right,
yeah, or
right. So-
French's for yellow mustard.
And these taste tests are so fun because you can just go buy a bunch, try them, and then you know what you like.
Right.
And then you can also look at the price and say, is it worth it? So you want me to just go through them?
So we've got my shallot mustard. That's the outlier so we're just going to pull that out. And that is Dijon mustard, literally with toasted shallots and shallot oil. And it's just something that I loved. I made like a homemade version of
Uh-huh.
mustard. I made it for a roast pork and I really loved it. So we put it in a jar.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull that out. The rest of them are sold in the grocery stores as Dijon, right?
Yes.
So what are our options?
But we started with number 1, which is Amora, and that's French, and I think that was Terry's favorite.
That was Terry and
And
Pam's
Pamela's favorite. So
and
they-
it's the Amora Forte is what they
yes,
like,
fine
which-
and forte. So
which has been the one that's been hard to find.
yeah, I was Amazon.
Oh, this is Forte.
Yep, it's fine and forte, which means strong. Kind of sieved well and strong. And then we have another French one that Edmund Fellow, and there's Edmund Fellow stores all over the Burgundy region.
Really?
And then we've got it here, and they've got tons of different flavors and additives that are, herbs and things that they put in it. But I just got the plain one. And then we've got the Maya. We've got Annie's.
The Maya is what you see mostly in the grocery stores.
Yep.
The big, it's Maille. Is
Correct.
that right?
the Maya
Yep.
and the Grey Poupon are the ones
Yep.
that I feel like.
A Grey Poupon. Remember those old ads?
Sure. They're perfect.
And then we've got Annie's. We've got Primal Kitchen. And we've got Trader Joe's. And what's really interesting is the price per ounce varies drastically.
Does it?
Starting with Amora, which is one of my favorites, that's $1.24 per ounce. Trader Joe's is 15 cents. That whole jar is $1.99.
Huh.
So curious to see what you think
The
about.
Trader Joe's one is by far my least favorite one, which I think is interesting. I don't.
Telling.
It's way hotter to me than some of the other ones.
And if you're looking for Dijon, it's kind of interesting because it's like softer and creamier version of a American yellow mustard, and it gets that unique flavor they use their white wine or the verjus from the region.
Uh-huh.
So that's what makes it a little bit more special than just using a white vinegar. And there's one way that you can tell without tasting if it's strong and spicy. The 2 best indicators are if you look at the fat content, because that means if there's any fat in there, it means that there's more mustard seeds, so it's a stronger flavor. And then the fresher mustards tend to be spicier, so look at the sell-by date and always
Okay.
buy one as far away as possible, and that will give you the strongest. And then over time, they'll diminish.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting tips there. Good
Yes.
job.
Yes.
All right, Loretta, you tasted them all. Let's give, since there's too many to kind of go through them all, give your top 2 and your bottom 1.
Okay, I just said my bottom one is the Trader Joe's.
Okay.
I think it's very spicy, but without a lot of that like creamy flavor, I think.
Okay.
And then my top is probably the Edmund Fayot
Mm-hmm.
and the Maya, I think.
You like the traditional French Dijon.
Yes, I do. The Annie's is a completely different color and texture than the others, which I think is interesting.
It's not an appealing color.
It's not an appealing
Just like the color
no,
of
yeah.
mine, I don't think is particularly appealing. When you look compared, say, at the Amora, which has a beautiful.
Yeah, the Amora
Right.
looks the best to me. It
Yeah.
has these little like flecks in it. It's the lightest color.
So it might be that that one might have some yellow mustard seeds in there, not just brown.
Sean, can you make a break note there? So go ahead and say what you said.
Well, I think maybe the Amora has some yellow mustard seeds in there as well, not just the brown, because it's so bright.
Uh-huh.
And they maybe added turmeric. I don't know.
Well, it would have to say, if there was turmeric, it would have to say.
Yeah.
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 So my top one is the Amora also. It's just in your face delicious.
Yep.
And when I'm using mustard like this, there's 2 ways that I use mustard. 3, actually. It's in a vinaigrette.
Right.
You're spreading out with that heat and that forte quality, so you don't really notice that it's Forte.
Mhm.
There is a mustard sauce. So I'm cooking a steak. I've got the steak all cooking. It's resting on the side. And let's say I cooked it in a cast iron pan or in a stainless steel pan where I've got some pan crusties and juices. I'll pour in a little tablespoon of demi or something, and then I'll stir in mustard into that with maybe some green peppercorns and make a quick mustard sauce for my steak sandwich. Again, you're spreading out the oomph of that Forte.
Right.
And then the other way is I'm having a German sausage,
Mhm.
like a Weisswurst or a Landjager or something, and I just want straight up pow. And some people confuse that with like that with heat, but it's not heat. It's like the horseradish hit, right?
Uh-huh.
It's a nasal heat, not a like a Caspian
Right.
capsicum. Yeah,
Capsicum.
capsicum
That one.
heat out of a pepper.
Mhm.
It's a one that just gets you in your nose, like wasabi does, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm looking for that on those fatty smoked sausages,
Mhm.
right? So that's the three ways I generally use mustard the most, and I think that is along with these other. To me, I would interchange that with the Grey Poupon or the Mal or most of the others. My least favorite was the Annie's because it just doesn't strike me as what I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
Right.
Yeah. It's
The
just
same with the Primal Kitchen to me. Like it has the front taste of Dijon, but it has no Forte at
Right.
all.
Right.
The Primal one.
and it's like the Primal Kitchen one to me reminded me of the brown mustard that you get in delis sometimes when
Yeah,
you're actually
in a
looking for
packet.
a hot dog mustard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just was a little bit different. When I want Dijon in particular, I want what that Amora offers.
Punchier. Yeah, I
Punchier,
agree.
Yeah.
Have you ever made it yourself? I know you've made your toasted shallot one as a company, but have
Right.
you ever made it just for the heck of it?
Just from mustard seeds, yes. And I prefer store-bought ones actually because they are time tested, and so they've adjusted the vinegars. When you're making them homemade, you have to make it a dozen times to get to the spot that you want to, which I've never had the patience for.
Mhm.
The one thing I've made at home that I really think compares to like a store-bought in that way, in a pantry kind of way, is miso.
Oh,
I love making miso and then letting it sit on my counter for a year or two and just develop that essence that it does. And I have a crock from Germany that is typical for sauerkraut.
uh-huh.
And I make my
So
miso.
that big brown one?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
make my miso in there and talk about a beautiful salad dressing base or any kind of base. I mean, miso is just good in anything. It's add this an umami quality. And when you mix mustard into like a vinaigrette, you don't really know that it's a mustard vinaigrette, but
Mhm.
it adds that
A
bottom
depth and
kind
that
of
heat
umami
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
What's your favorite one, Becky?
I love the Amora.
Yeah.
And I also I love your toasted shallot, but it's toasted
It's
shallot,
different,
so it's
yeah.
different. But it is typically my favorite.
Mhm.
And the Trader Joe's I did not like, but I think if you're not just tasting it straight, if you're using it in a vinaigrette, it could be just fine.
Could be just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The price is crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
15 cents per ounce versus $1.24.
To me, that's a little bit like salt.
Okay.
Whereas sometimes you'll see salt at $5 for a 3-pound box, or you'll
Right.
see a 8-ounce box of Malden for $8 or $9, right?
I'll take the Malden.
Even
Mhm.
with the increase in price, you're not using enough to really make a huge difference in what it cost is per meal.
Yep.
You're talking about a quarter of a cent to maybe 2 cents per use.
Right.
And so that's something to remember. You have to amortize it out how far it goes.
It's a very good point.
And mustard's a little bit the same way.
Mhm.
So even though the Amora is more expensive, you don't use a whole lot.
No,
Right? So,
No.
Loretta, did you have a favorite way to eat mustard? I don't think of you as
I-
a mustard girl.
Oh, I love mustard.
ya?
Yeah, I love mustard. I use it in vinaigrettes all the time. I always just make my vinaigrettes in like an old jam jar and
Mhm.
then shake it, and then I can keep the leftover for a few days in the
Right.
fridge. So I always use it in that. I also love like a good toasted ham sandwich. and,
Mm.
Now you're talking.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I always slather mustard. So
I did it just on salmon, just taking a tablespoon or so and just spread it and put it on
Yeah.
the grill. And
oh yeah.
I think it's your
Crust up
mother
nice.
that doesn't love mustard.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she doesn't love it. Pork
Yeah.
chops, I always pull out the mustard and dip as I eat. So good.
All right. That looks like our audience has just received breakfast. And when we come back, we're going to ask for a second about what their favorite mustards were. On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
And they got their little chorizo sausages. Would you put that in
Yeah,
mustard?
sure. I wouldn't. The
'Cause it's
chorizo's got
yeah,
plenty, yeah.
yeah.
Do you have miso going right now?
I have the beans and the
I'm gonna say
koji.
we should do that as a shortcut or scratch and taste a bunch of different.
Yeah, well, it'll be a year from now.
I know. But maybe we'll just do a tasting panel
Yeah.
of store bought.
Let's hear for Becky's little guide sheet, on the mustards. That's pretty fancy doings right there.
Got to keep it simple.
Yeah.
What are we eating?
What you are eating is a Spanish tortilla, which is a potato and onion type omelets in every tapa bar in Spain, generally, sitting on the counter. You're eating chorizo sausages, often at the tapas bar in Spain. And then there's a ruby chard where we cook the stems first for 5 minutes. And then we sear on the greens because they only take 30 seconds to a minute to cook. And that is cooked with our taco spice, which is a real bright, lemony, mild chili spice that works on so many things. And that's what's on your plate. That's it. Yeah. Ruby chard, Swiss chard, same thing. No. Is it too spicy for you? Oh. It's not intended to be spicy. It's intended to be bright. Yeah. Yeah. And, it's that seasoning is also a good salt replacement. There's some salt in it, but not like direct salt. Well, have you tried? I would try them plain first. Yeah. I think they're, yeah. Yeah. So then do what you want after that. The taco spice? It's here, or some stores carry it. I know Wild Salmon Fish Market in Ballard has it, but it's hit or miss where you
You
find
can
it.
get it online, like our Rub with Love shop online has it. Yeah.
All right, we're going to come back live here. Welcome back to the Hot Stove Society Show. We're in the gorgeous studio kitchens here at the Hot Stove. And before we get into spring soups, I wanted to have a raise of hands from our audience. Did anyone have a favorite mustard? Amora, 2 out of 10. What's anybody else want to throw in? Edmund Falla. That's the
4.
winner of this
Yeah.
particular group. Good job.
And that came from Dijon in my suitcase.
In your suitcase.
Yep, it did.
The beagle at the airport did not detect it.
Nope. Nor the sausages.
I think mustard is perfectly legal. Okay, spring soups.
All right.
This is where I said earlier in the open that people mess up spring soups. I guess they mess up soup a lot by overcooking it.
Right.
But I think spring soups in particular are the first ones of the year, and you want them to be the lightest and freshest that you can possibly do. So summer soup to me is like minestrone. All the vegetables are out in the garden, peppers, zucchinis, tomatoes, you name it. And that's a good time to make minestrone, and that can simmer for a minute. But a spring soup, like to me, would be the first sorrel of the year, the first spinach tops of the year, the first robs, so broccoli robs, any sort of kale rob. A rob is the first spring growth that comes off of those. What are the names of those?
Broccoli crowns?
Yeah, but I was talking about the whole category.
Oh,
Yeah.
brassica.
Brassicas.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say. And so, anyway, to me, you've got your delicious chicken stock or your vegetable stock or whatever it is that you're using. I'm going to cook my new potatoes in it just until they're done.
Mhm.
I'm going to put my greens into the broth with the potatoes, and I'm done. You don't cook your greens. You don't do anything. You simply take it from there into a blender and beautiful potato and spinach soup. Potato and rob soup. And I just think that people often just cook their soup too much.
Okay.
You cook your stock separate. Don't even overcook that. a good chicken stock or broth is 30-minute project. You don't need to
You
go.
don't need to do the 2-3 hour.
No, you don't. If you want a stronger chicken broth or a real
Just-
bony broth, then you can do that.
Uh-huh.
But for a good fresh broth, it's 30 minutes,
Okay.
45 minutes max. And don't skim all the fat off, right? I mean, if it's heavy on fat, fine, but leave some there. That's part of the flavor of the,
Yeah.
of the soup. So,
And once you do all that, are you a cold soup person or a warm soup?
warm soup.
Warm
person.
soup.
I
I'm
came to
also
soup.
warm soup.
You're a warm soup too?
Yeah.
I came to soup later in my life. It was never something I craved.
Mm.
And when I started going out for a pho, I started craving
That was the
soup.
gateway.
That was the gateway.
Yeah.
The gateway soup.
It was unbelievable. My first bowl of pho, it was a revelation. And
Yeah. I love soup. Like it's one of my favorite
Mm-hmm.
foods. I eat soup during the winter and fall probably 3 days a week for
Oh,
lunch, I
nice.
would say. I'm not like a big spring soup person. And I don't know if it's just because I eat so much soup in the fall and winter, but that by the time we get to warmer weather into spring and things like that, I'm like souped out and I'm ready to just have those kind of perfect fresh vegetables in their original form.
Right.
Or if I think it maybe just doesn't occur to me to put on a soup when it's warm out. And I'm sure that's probably a lot of people, but yeah, I'm going to try some.
The most memorable dish we had on our trip was white asparagus was everywhere.
mhm.
And in the markets, they were so cool. Some of them were the size of like a silver dollar. They were huge. And so we had a white asparagus soup that was made with little potatoes and cream. And then they put, it was warm and immersion blendered, and then some cocoa nibs on it.
Hmm.
Who would have thought? And it
Yeah.
was so good.
Hmm.
We're all just loving it.
Ask for seconds.
Do you
Is that
think
on the barge or off the barge?
That was on the barge.
On the barge.
Do you think of spring soups as sometimes I think of spring soups as more appetizery, and then when you're in
Mhm.
fall and winter, you get the soup as like your main course?
I think it kind of depends on what you're doing with it. For example, I could eat pho year round, and in Vietnam, where it's super hot and muggy, they eat pho all summer long.
And for
The cool
Well,
breakfast.
they
them-
actually tell you
to
you're
cool
supposed to eat
themselves
hot
off.
and spicy food, to
Yeah.
cool yourself off.
Yeah.
but-
So I find myself, when I first met your mother, she made soup, but she actually made stew.
Yeah,
She
I mean,
never really made soup.
She could not get her broth ratio right for a long
Well, no,
time.
it was right for her. It just
Yeah.
wasn't right for me. She loved it that way, and it was chock full of vegetables and stuff, but it was stew. So I do like a soup over a stew in
Mhm.
that way. So if I want stew, I want like beef stew.
You want it more meaty. There was I read that in one recipe it was a Provençal soup and it had rhubarb in it.
Mhm.
Have you ever put rhubarb in a spring soup?
I haven't, but it makes sense. Rhubarb is out there. It's not particularly sweet. It adds, it's sour. It adds brightness. There's no
Texture of
reason-
celery after it's cooked,
Yeah,
maybe
there's no
something
reason.
like that.
Well, actually, you want to throw the rhubarb in before. I mean, like celery, you can cook down and it stays
Right.
celery. Rhubarb will disappear on you.
That
So if
makes
you want the
sense. Mhm.
texture, I would cook the soup all the way, mince or dice the rhubarb into small
Mhm.
little chunks, and I would finish with the rhubarb
Okay.
and just let the broth warm it
Kind
up.
of
I
like a
wouldn't cook
green.
it.
Okay.
That'll give you the crunch.
Yeah.
That you said you liked, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I actually am now more warmed up to not strained but pureed soups. I didn't
Uh-huh.
like that texture before,
Mm.
but I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah.
And Terry would always strain his soups.
Terry strains everything. No, he does. That was
Yeah.
just part of his training and the way he grew up cooking. So
So I peeked through his recipes on his spring pea soup and green asparagus with Meyer lemon cream. And he did say on one of them, if you promise me that you blend it enough, you don't need to run it through a chinois. So,
promise. Pinky promise.
Yes, yes.
Well, asparagus soup right now, this time of year is the time, right?
Mhm.
So what I like to do on asparagus soup is I'll peel the ends and then test for tenderness.
Mhm.
So usually oftentimes I don't have to cut anything else off other
Mhm.
than the end peel. And then I take it all the way up to the top inch, just the head,
Mhm.
and I'll roast those separately in a super hot oven,
Mm.
500-degree oven, roast them, get a little caramelization. Take the rest of it, puree it up with either a veg stock, which I make with browned onions,
Mhm.
or a regular chicken stock, and then I'll just cook those until they're just cooked without taking all the green. We don't want gray soup without taking all the green.
Oh, it would go gray if you
and
overcook
if you
it.
want, and
Yeah.
then I puree all of that and I garnish with the little tips of roasted asparagus. Nice salty little roasted
mhm.
asparagus tips. So
And no
crunch.
cocoa nibs. That'd be
I don't
wrong.
like cocoa nibs.
Yeah.
I own part of Theo chocolate.
Uh-huh.
I'm fine with cocoa nibs. Anywhere
Please,
you want.
everybody buy cocoa
Yeah.
nibs from Theo.
I'm a stockholder. I should say I'm a stockholder in Theo chocolate. So.
It's funny.
There's so many. When you talk about chilled spring soups, you're
Yes.
talking vichyssoise and
Right?
the first leeks of the season, and that is something that it's just not for me.
No, like a really silky.
I would
Peas
eat it
with
for
mint?
sure. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I'll
maybe
eat
a
it.
shooter?
I'm the same way. Like I'm happy to eat it if it's set in front of me. If it's on a menu with 10 other things, it's not the thing
It's
that
not
I'm
getting
ordering.
ordered.
You know?
Yeah.
And I like it as a shot, like for a appetizer. If you're walking around, when we do it quite often, you're walking around, you've got little duck confit buns over here, and you've got Spanish tortilla over there. Next thing you come to my station, and it's got a little shot glass
Yes.
of either warm or chilled pea soup, for
Uh-huh.
example.
Mhm.
Best Terry and I have talked about this often, but the best pea soup I ever had, we were at Restaurant Danielle in Manhattan during the James Beard Awards, and we got this soup, and it was the bomb. I mean, it was the most incredible soup. And Danielle is famous for never serving the same thing twice.
Okay.
Like, he has a computer in the kitchen that and he knows who's coming into his restaurant, and he writes in what you had, so the next time you come, you don't get the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we knew that, and so we had this soup, and it's like, oh my god, this is so good. So we asked for more, and they brought out more because we knew we would never get it again.
Uh-huh.
And so Terry says to Danielle in French, like, who peeled all these peas? You must have a million people in the back. And Danielle just looked at him like he was crazy. He says, they're frozen peas, dude.
And it
And
blew his mind, I bet.
Terry his eyes rolled in the back of his head.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so we've done that since. We've used frozen peas, and it works perfectly.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. So
That's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work, exactly.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm laughing because there's peas in our freezer right now from last year's harvest.
Ooh.
And I've asked my wife several times if I can have those peas back in December. Oh, no. You know, she's so
She's hoarding
protective.
them?
I know. She peels them all, so then she's
Oh,
like, they
those-
have to go to perfect use.
That's her thing when she's watching a movie at nighttime. She'll just shuck peas or all the dry beans she'll take out of the casings. And that's what they do for entertainment
Mhm.
when watching a movie or the baseball games.
I get into that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Daniel Balut has a sweet pea fava, pea shoot, snap peas, and snow peas that he serves on his menu every spring. And he says it's okay to sub the labor-intensive fresh favas as well as snow peas and pea shoots. Instead, use sugar snaps and frozen baby peas.
There you
Frozen
go.
baby
Yep.
peas.
And he doesn't strain his.
And so what you just described, I thought was a salad, but it's a soup.
It's a soup.
Easy.
Yes, it's a spring soup that was just in Bon Appetit the other day,
Uh-huh.
which kind of inspired this.
And pureed.
Yes.
Okay, so
I
But
can't
not strained.
imagine putting fresh favas into soup. There's
And then-
so much effort in getting
and so
peeling
expensive. You know,
favas.
they're $4 or $5 a pound as a whole bean.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to what's
The little-
left, it's about $20 a pound.
Yeah. You blanched it and all those
Yeah.
things.
And then there's labor on top of that. So it's worth the effort.
Mhm.
But when you are struggling for time and it's spring, go ahead. And both Danielle Ballou and Terry say buy the petite peas.
The petite piece.
Yes.
And I don't know that I've ever looked for that.
Oh, I always buy the little ones.
Do they taste better?
I think so. They're
less starchy.
less starchy. Yeah, less that chalky texture.
Well, you're spoiled. You don't have to buy frozen peas.
I've
Yeah,
never been-
Because you've got
exactly.
Jackie.
I've never been petite in my whole life. I can't imagine eating a petite.
I'm curious,
pea.
Becky, do you have a comfort soup? Like Dad, you said yours is pho. Do
Yeah.
you have
I love this classic chicken vegetable
chicken vegetable?
with lots of veg and
Yeah, not me.
no.
Yeah, I like
It's
it,
I like
but
it
I
more
don't
like a
love it.
stew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine's avgalemino, like the Greek
Oh yes.
Yeah.
lemon chicken rice soup. That I could eat that every
Yeah,
That
day,
sounds
but
great.
mine's pho.
the minute that I'm sick, all
That's
I
where you
want
go.
is
Interesting. Well, I never made that for you that I remember.
no, but we got it at Yanni's all the time.
okay.
Right?
There you go. It's time for a dance party, huh?
All right.
When we come back, get your dancing shoes on. It's time to celebrate Chef Terry on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Okay, got this pretty picture too.
Chili.
Did we do halibut last week? I thought. Did we do halibut last week? Different halibut. Got it.
But what I didn't understand. Crosscut. Put it.
So he's going this way. This is a thick. A lot of times halibut's that thick. Yeah.
I wonder if we are going to
Hey, how are you? Yeah, well, it could be about 10, 15, but we could bump you up earlier if you need to. Okay, no, if you want to hang out or, yeah,
I'm wondering.
you got time?
Yeah, my parking doesn't run out till about.
This is my favorite. What he says, small is better about the peas. I know this because I'm not very tall.
Well, you can talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, we're back here at the Hot Stove Society Studios in downtown Seattle, 4th of Virginia, beautiful Hotel Andra. It's time, Sean, to take us down the dance party path. Let's everyone get up out of our chairs for a second. Time for a dance party and celebration of Chef Terry Rotereau.
Hating is bad. One more shot for us.
Our co-host here for 25 years. One of the great men in our life. You're in your garden, stand up, row a hoe, as they say, or hoe a row. All right, if you're in your car, tap your steering wheel. You're in your kitchen, flip a pancake. All right. Chef Terry would always sing and dance to every song we put on the sound system here at the studio. Thank you so much for celebrating him. This is the time when we go take a recipe from his book, The Rover's Cookbook, which, by the way, if you want a copy, you just have to go online and look for it used. It's I have not had a problem finding it. Have you?
No, we had an audience member buy one while she was in the audience.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's good fun. I've been exploring our cooking relationship. You know, we always had, Drew, can we calm that down for a second? We've always had a difference in style when we cooked. His was classic. Mine was seat of the pants. And we learned a lot from each other, I think. as far as taking life a little bit simpler. But that was his style. That was his
Right.
thing, especially at Rovers. He calmed down a bit at Lulay and at Luke, but he was all intense at
Mhm.
Rovers. 10-course tasting menus, both vegetarian and omnivorous. Good man. Let's see what do I want to say about this. Becky, why did you pick this recipe that we're going to celebrate today?
Because it just sounds like it's spring, and halibut,
Uh-huh.
I just love it. And I know we talked about a baked halibut before, but this one is grilled, and we're talking about those spring peas on the bottom. Maybe this will inspire you to use those Jackie's peas.
All right, so it's Alaskan halibut with manila clams, petite peas, and peppercress. And I'm going to start with just the one thing that you questioned right away was, he says, cut the piece of halibut in half. So when you see halibut at a grocery store or wherever you buy your fish, a lot of times it's super thick. And so this is the type of halibut he's talking about. So you have your chunk of halibut, and sometimes we call that a baseball cut, when it's like a chunk of a square, because
Never
it's
heard
so
that.
big, you end up with, a
Mhm.
halibut can be 40, 50
Right.
pounds, right? So you end up with that piece. And so you just cut it in half horizontally. And it wouldn't hurt to cut it in half directly down, but his version was cut in half horizontally. And then he layers the two pieces. So he cooks them separately and layers the two pieces. One of the reasons I think he does that is that he gets a more tender edge. He still gives a
Okay.
hard sear, but when it's super thick, you have to give it a harder sear. And you end up getting a little bit of a dry edge on the top and the
Right.
bottom when
Right.
trying to get it cooked properly. And I think that's partly why he does that.
And I imagine you have your cooking time by.
You have your cooking time, and it might be like with me and filet mignon. Like, I don't love filet mignon because you end up with two seared a top and a bottom, and then you end up with all this kind of raw meat in the middle.
Mhm.
And I much prefer to give it a what they call tornadoes or butterfly it
Okay.
and get twice as much sear and not as much just raw filet.
Mhm.
So that's why I don't love prime rib cut off the roast as much either. I like an end cut because
Right.
I like more brown and more caramelization.
More flavor.
Yeah, on the meat. So bring a small saucepan of water to boil to prepare a bowl of ice water. So he is doing the classic blanch your peas, drop them in ice water to preserve color.
The not
I
Tom
don't
Douglas
do that.
style. No, way.
I don't do that. I don't believe
My
in that.
favorite thing in this recipe is he really is stressing like the small peas, and he says the small is better. I know this because I am not all that tall.
Aw.
He wasn't all that tall. When we were at his memorial,
Mhm.
a little picture of him as a baby. He
Oh
was
my
even a
God.
small baby.
So adorable. Those
And
big
he always
eyes.
had a bouffant, a
Yeah.
hairdo.
Yeah.
And then he didn't.
Then he was a hat.
And then he had a hat.
Then he had a hat. He was the chef in the hat. Okay, so just a quick blanch on the peas. Combine the shallots and thyme in a large saucepan because you're going to start steaming your clams. And he uses small clams, manila clams, right off from the. I know we both bought from Penn Cove Shellfish.
Love that.
He is a little more. How do I want to say? He cooks the clams, and as they open, he pulls them out one
Mhm.
by one.
Mhm.
I tend to be a little bit more. I just wait for the pot to open. If something doesn't open, I'll pull it out.
I was
so.
interested by that. Like I would never have thought to do that, to pull them as they open. Can you overcook clams in
Yeah,
that
I
of
way?
think
course.
so.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we did the clam tasting and I did clams from Penn Cove
Uh-huh.
Clams, I had a big pot and I did just that. I didn't even, once they started going, I just took off the lid and I had a spider and I just kept taking the ones out and putting them aside, and it worked really well and they
Yeah.
weren't overdone.
And then, of course, all that liquor drops into the bottom of the pan. That is your base for
Strain it and
some of the sauce here. And typically, I haven't had a sandy clam in a very long time, but
Mhm.
you have to watch out for those. That'll kind of ruin your sauce. So keep an eye out for those. I did think it was interesting. You said cook them for up to 8 to 10 minutes
no way.
until they open.
They open like in 2.
I know, but he's saying the ones that don't open, you can cook longer until
Oh.
they open. And if they still don't open, he says right here, 8 to 10 minutes. It's like, I've never heard that before. Any accumulated clam liquid in the bowl goes back into the saucepan, then boil to reduce by 1/4. Strain the liquid through a sieve into a small saucepan and swirl the butter so that it melts creamily into the clam liquid.
What a delight.
4 tablespoons.
So here he's going to add the peas back to the sauce,
Mhm.
I think to kind of heat them up.
Warm them up. Yeah.
And then he's going to pull them out again because he wants to pull them and have those as the base for the halibut. So the halibut now we have 1/2 inch thick or so,
Mhm.
2 pieces. They're a little square, maybe 3-inch square, 2-inch square, something like that. Hard sear quickly.
But he says only 30 seconds per side. See, that's why
Exactly.
you need that hard cast iron sear. Or
Well, you just it'll overcook in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So again, not sure his motivation other than that the halibut was super thick or that he was Chef Terry and he could never leave anything alone.
Gild
But-
the lily.
Gild the lily, exactly. So then he puts a hard sear on both sides of those
So it's
in
a
olive oil.
skinless piece. So when you get that thick piece, you would slice it in half horizontally and also remove the skin from the bottom.
Correct. If it came with skin
it
out,
came.
almost always halibut comes skin off unless you see it
Oh, I've
differently.
always been getting it recently, skin on,
Really?
Yeah.
You know why they do that?
to charge more.
Yeah, exactly. So heat the skillet over a high heat and just cook it off, sear it off in halibut. If you want to put a thermometer into it, use your meat thermometer right into the center of the fillet,
What do you want?
115 to 125,
Okay.
depending on how you like it. And remember, because you're going into a hot pan on both sides of such a thin piece, the heat's going to continue to cook.
Mhm.
And so give yourself a little leeway of at least 5 degrees from where you want it. 120 degrees will give you a translucent center.
Mhm.
It's like a medium to medium. It's like a medium rare steak, right? It gives you that little translucent center. If you want it done more than that, take it to 125 degrees, right? All right. Put the peas with a slotted spoon in the center of the plate. Mound the peas. So there's enough
Mound.
peas.
A mound, a pea mound.
Yeah, there's enough peas to mound the peas. And don't forget to warm your plates. This is something that I see at home cooks do all the time.
Great tip.
They pull the plates off the shelf and they start putting dinner on and like, come on, we never do that. Are you kidding me?
Soup bowls as well, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I happen to have a shelf over my stove with heat lamps that I can just put my plates up at the beginning of when I start to cook.
Mhm.
And then they're ready to go by the time I'm ready
Of
to
course
go.
you do.
Of course you do. I've
Hey,
never
my mother
warmed a,
did
I've
too. Look
never
over
warmed
there.
a plate in my life.
Oh,
My
really?
mother, look at that shelf on that stove over there on our spirit animal stove.
How's the
It has the
the
warming
lid.
shelf.
There
Yeah,
you go.
absolutely.
So otherwise, you just turn your oven on.
Yeah.
The lowest.
Exactly.
And
Mine
then
only
pop your
mine's
plates
gas, so it goes as low as I want it to go. But like a lot of home ovens won't go below 150, 175. So you turn it on, or if it's been on, you leave it, you turn it off and put the plates in because you don't want them burning hot.
Mhm.
If your peas start to bubble and your sauce starts to bubble on your plate, it's
If
too
you
hot.
burn all the skin off your hands.
Yeah, it might be too hot. Remove the clams from the shells. I would never do that. I think they look so pretty in their little shells. And arrange them in a circle around the peas. That's so funny. This is
So
what I
funny.
love
This
about
is
this
classic.
process of going through his book because that's how his mind worked,
Mhm.
and we just didn't come from the same place. So you've put the clams around, set the halibut slices slightly overlapping them on top of the peas. Spoon the sauce over the halibut and sprinkle with chives. He often does the whole chive garnish. Again, it's not to get as much of an onion flavor as it is for decorative. Toss the cress. So he's going to finish with a little pepper cress. And he has in his kitchens, he's always got blended oils, right? So this time he's going to use his beet oil with a pinch of salt and pepper on the cress, mound the salad on top of the halibut, and then finish with another drizzle of the beet oil around the clams. So beautiful, simple spring dish. We have it up on the camera right now, a picture of it from the book.
Beautiful.
And I would suggest that if you're making your honey a little beautiful or your mom a beautiful little supper for Mother's Day, that you might try this recipe. Well, can we post it?
Sure. Sounds
Yeah.
lovely.
It's
Very simple.
oddly,
We could do this.
you can make your steps more simple than he does,
Mhm.
but it's
and you can cook it in one day.
compared to some of his recipes, it's very doable.
Honestly, you could cook this one pretty quick. Like this is one of the quicker start to finish recipes I feel like that
Yeah,
we've
I would
talked
agree
about.
with that. Okay, we have one more full hour of deliciousness coming your way. I'm going to start off hour number 2 with gnocchi, Roman gnocchi on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
You want to know the real reason I picked this halibut one? I kind of threw Bridget under the bus when I was gone because I didn't want to do the Columbia River sturgeon with rabbit kidneys, truffle mousseline, and lovage glaze.
We did that.
I know.
Yeah,
No, I know.
that was crazy.
I was like, I'm going to do that when I'm not here.
Hey, Drew, can we get some clearage when you have a second up front here?
Say the name of our breakfast again, our dish.
It is Spanish tortilla,
Oh, Spanish tortilla.
so which is very different than, say, a Mexican tortilla, corn tortilla, right? With eggs, potatoes, and onions, cooked in olive oil, as like a frittata. And then there was chorizo sausages, which have smoked paprika and garlic and cumin in them. And then there is the ruby chard, which is the stems are sauteed first to get them tender, and then you put the greens on top and just give it a quick sear with our taco rub, fish taco rub. You can find them at De Laurentiis, sometimes at Met Market. Fancy grocery stores have them. There you go.
All right.
Hey, Sean, what's up with the LMFAO? You led my class with that last night, too. Yeah. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Oh, wait a second. Do we want to get him
So,
on first, or does he want
He's
to?
gonna do 2 segments in trivia, so we could do that. We could get him going now, or
We should be ready right at 11. Does that work for him? I
Yeah.
think? Okay. Let's just stay in order
so-
then.
Perfect.
And we're back. It's time for gnocchi here in the hot stove kitchen. I'm Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
Our producer is Becky Guzak today, freshly back from the region of Burgundy, France, Lyon,
Paris.
Paris, Paris.
That's Paris.
You know, was that Paris that you just? I didn't even get the pronunciation. They said Paris. And did you have any French gnocchi?
Not that I recall.
Yeah,
No.
you don't see it very often.
No, it's in a
You see dumplings
Ital-
a little bit more, or Parisian style fish
Mm-hmm.
dumplings and things, but yeah, not a lot of gnocchi that I saw over there. Let's talk gnocchi. In my first book, Tom Douglas Seattle Kitchen, we have a potato gnocchi with roasted tomatoes and gorgonzola cream. And I remember this dish a lot because we used to call the roasted tomatoes, the mother of all sauces, based on the Iraq War and Saddam Hussein's. He was the mother. It was the mother of all something. I can't remember, but that's how I remember this recipe.
Interesting.
It's a timepiece
Yes.
for me. Yes.
Yeah. Association.
Anyway, potato gnocchi. We bake the potatoes,
What kind of potatoes?
russet potatoes.
Okay.
We bake them while they're still hot. We peel them and put them in a ricer
Mhm.
or a food mill, either way. And then so you end up with this all this kind of ground potato, sieved potato. In goes the eggs, in goes the flour. Just roll them up, and you've got a gnocchi. It's just that simple. Now, the important part here is the egg part, because you don't want to cook the eggs in the hot potatoes. So you gotta beat them first and then kind of stir them in quickly. But you don't want to. You also only want to stir it in enough to incorporate. You don't want to keep stirring. You bring the starches out of the potatoes. You end up with a tough
Goo.
gnocchi. These are pillow soft. These are the kind of gnocchi that you want to put your head on when you go to bed at nighttime and dream beautiful dreams. Okay. Roasted tomato sauce is literally just that: tomatoes, olive oil, garlic, herbs.
And do you use this tines of a fork, or do you make the little impression so it soaks up more business, or not really?
I don't personally. I'm too lazy to do that, but that is something that can be done. It also generally works on a more tough gnocchi than these particular. These are very soft. And matter of fact, we made them before every service. lunch and dinner because they also tend to kind of want to gray up. They don't last overnight very
Gotcha.
well. They want to gray up from the oxidation.
Right.
So don't like that.
That's the potatoes oxidizing that
I think
causes
so,
that gray
yeah.
color. Interesting.
Yeah, or
Okay.
flour oxidizes in pie dough too when you look at it. So maybe it's the flour. I'm
Okay.
not sure. And then once you've boiled the gnocchi, pull it out, toss it with butter, put it on the plate, cover it with a swish of red tomato sauce, and then a drizzle of literally gorgonzola dolce mixed with cream. And it's
Yum.
just a little back and forth and both ways, and it's dynamite.
Sounds wonderful. And
And I don't really appreciate the fact that you guys didn't appreciate my mother of all sauces chat. That's a George Bush era thing that I remember, and that's a lot of wine ago.
I was a child.
You were a child. Absolutely. You have a favorite gnocchi?
We eat a lot of gnocchi in our house because it is my 3-year-old's like favorite food.
Uh-huh.
We've made it once or twice. I think we typically buy the fresh cucina fresca, like pre-made one at the store. But yeah, we like it with everything. I like a spring gnocchi with peas and like a little white wine, butter, lemon, fresh sauce. But we also do tomato sauce all the time too. And yeah, we have gnocchi a lot.
I did make that for him when he was at my house for dinner with pesto, and that was a no-go.
Oh, he didn't eat it.
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was an off night because normally that's a tried
Pesto's a
and true
good
for
thing?
us. Yeah.
It's like, whose kid are you?
My question that I wanted to ask you is that I love when you can pan fry the gnocchi and get the little crispy edges, but I really struggle with after I've boiled it and then I try and pan fry it, and then I either end up with overcooked gnocchi or the whole thing sticks to the pan and all the crust stays there. So what am I doing wrong if you do want that more pan fried texture? Do I not boil it beforehand? Do I
No, you
just-
have to boil it
Okay.
beforehand. I don't know, it depends on the gnocchi themselves, but
Okay.
any store-bought gnocchi should be firm enough that that's not a problem. You're not using enough fat, is my guess.
Okay.
Lots of pre kind of foamy white or even a little toasty brown butter. And then make sure the pan's hot enough when they go in. This would be a good time to use your Teflon.
Okay.
If you are not, if you're going into a stainless pan, it has to be even hotter.
Okay.
And then sometimes you have to just walk away. And I don't mean that literally, like leave the room, but you just have to like set it and forget it for 4 or 5 minutes. It's like cooking a fish fillet. A fish
Mhm.
fillet will want to stick immediately. But if you give it time to form the crust, then you can get your spatula in and under it, and you end
So
up
maybe
fine.
I'm trying to flip them too
Too quickly.
early.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be my guess.
What about gnocchi made with ricotta?
Same thing.
Would you skip the egg?
No,
No.
I would not, because the
Okay.
egg is what gives you the fluff, the
Okay,
rise
of
in your
course.
gnocchi.
And the whole egg, not just the yolk.
The whole egg.
Whole egg.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love ricotta gnocchi.
Do you?
Yeah.
You can do it with goat cheese, ricotta.
Yeah.
There's any multitude. I have made gnocchi out of taking pâte de choux, which is a cream puff batter, and stirring in, say, butternut squash puree,
Oh, that sounds good.
and then just popping that into a pan and letting it cook and rise right in the pan, because that's again an egg risen gnocchi or batter, I will say.
And that is already kind of cooked, right? That dough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole flour thing, and then and pâte de choux, you got the whole flour water thing, and then you drop in the eggs and stir them in, and that's what cooks the whole thing. So
And can you do it with sweet potato as well?
of course,
Yep.
yeah.
My nephew for Thanksgiving last year made darling pumpkin gnocchi that he took the time
Darling.
to make them look like little pumpkins.
Oh
They were so cute.
It's really
And then they
cute.
soaked up a lot of sauce because they had all these little nooks and
Crevies.
crannies. Yes.
Little crevices.
Let's talk for a minute about Roman gnocchi.
Okay,
like
what's
a
that?
semolina gnocchi.
Okay.
So you can buy semolina like you do flour. You can buy AP flour, all-purpose, finely ground flour. You can buy semolina, which is somewhat this, depending on the wheat, somewhat the same idea, except it's not as finely ground. And I consider that kind of Roman gnocchi, and you mix that. It feels like when you're cooking it on the stove, it feels like cream of wheat. It's kind of got that look to it. You used to like cream of wheat. Do you
I love
anymore?
cream of
You
wheat,
still do?
yeah.
Yeah. I never did like it, but I love Roman gnocchi. And so the process there, again, it's got the semolina, the water, the eggs, and cheese, lots of cheese.
What kind?
Parm,
Yeah.
Toma,
Okay.
Fontina. It really doesn't matter. Do a mixture. Any melty cheese. And stir that in and then put it into a sheet pan, like a cookie sheet pan that has a 1-inch edge or some sort of edge on it, and let it relax. It'll firm up, and then use a cookie cutter
Like a
and-
polenta.
like polenta.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
Okay.
that way.
It's
Except
fluffier. Like polenta's more
heavy,
dense
yeah.
in
Mhm.
texture than these come out. But yeah.
If you use the super fine ground polenta from Piemonte, you might be able to get some of the same texture. But anyway, so now you've got a cookie cutter. We use a little biscuit cutter, make little round suns or whatever it is. It's about 1 inch thick. And then you can do 2 ways to finish them off. You can, what we do is we take them, we cut up a bunch of the circles. The scrap we use for chef treats. But the circles then go in a casserole
Pretty.
with some cheese sprinkled on top. They're already super moist. A little bit of butter, and then throw it in the oven and bake them.
Mhm.
And then at the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes, turn the broiler on and give them a nice toasty brown at the end
brown,
once
yeah.
they're heated through. You can also pan fry those, and they work beautifully, and they brown up and they're delicious. And
I had them a version kind of like that. There's a semolina ricotta dumpling on the Palace kitchen menu right now with peas and mushroom, like super springy. But I think it's done that way, and then they just are cutting them small, almost gnocchi size.
and they're boiling them.
They are okay.
Yeah, they're boiling those particular ones, and they look more like pillows. These are more like a biscuit. They look
Yeah.
a little bit like a flat biscuit, and they brown up perfectly. And just finish off. You can drizzle off on that. You can eat them as is, or drizzle pesto over top, or whatever. I mean,
Mushroom ragu, maybe?
mushroom
Something like that?
ragu. Yeah. They're a great kind of not vegan but vegetarian entree base.
Mhm.
So you,
Full,
for
yeah.
the mushroom ragu, say, or beautiful base for a spring asparagus salad right on top, you know, with a little mustardy dressing and
From Amora.
from Amora.
Or-
yeah.
Tom Douglas. I love the classic brown butter and sage in the over gnocchi. It's so
Right.
simple and
So
it's just
simple.
delicious.
And so the way to do that, right, is just put as much butter as you need in a pan, and just let it. Don't go too high because it goes to black butter really fast.
Just let it
As soon as it
foam.
starts to foamy white, then you better keep an eye on it because you just want to get a burnt noisette, as Terry would say, a hazelnut color, and pop your sage in at that minute, and it'll just fry up in that hot brown butter.
Dry sage. I've made the mistake.
No.
No,
You can.
no, I mean, you don't want it wet. Like it needs to be,
Oh, you mean
no water in it.
no water? Yeah, just but a fresh
Yes.
sage leaf.
Yes.
That's been. If you've washed it, then dry it.
Yeah.
And then it'll sizzle right up,
Mhm.
and then you pop your gnocchi in there. Now, there you have to make the decision: are you just dressing your gnocchi out of the water bath, or if you want to brown your gnocchi, now you have to start that earlier first before the sage, and then throw the sage in. So.
That makes sense.
Okay. So
Good.
lower temp, maybe if you're just throwing in to dress them, but then you'd want to turn up the heat if you want them to sear.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't always love the sear. I like both versions. I think
pillow.
sometimes.
The nice
Yeah,
soft
I like
pillow.
the softness of the pillows. I'm trying to think of the Austrian kind of dumpling that we pan fry brown all the time, but goes with schnitzel.
Oh, Spätzle.
Spätzle,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
That's another one that works beautifully. Just boiled into a hot pan, give it a quick brown with some fresh herbs. And then for me to brighten anything with that brown butter sage, always lemon zest or something to kind of brighten that dish up again. So
Yum.
And
I'm hungry
I
now.
will
I would
say,
like this
I will
right
say
now.
that's a fall dish.
Okay.
Yeah, we just talked about it in winter, but that's you can have it year round, obviously. But I think of it as
As a
more
fall.
of a.
Just add
fall,
some spring
winter.
peas.
There you go. Okay, when we come back, we've got so much more show for you. James Whitaker is here. He's the owner of Bellevue Brewing, Side Hustle Tap Room, and Scratch Kitchen in Kirkland. On the Hot Stove Society radio show, we are coming at you, 97.3 FM.
All right, you ready?
Just have a seat.
Thank
Put
you
the
for the
mic-
introduction. Absolutely. Okay. Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Ah. Is he down now? Is he out of it now?
No, he's just driving.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. His wife is very, very involved. All Washington, yeah.
James, if you could practice just talking right into that mic. Even Becky was too far away. You can
Bless
hear
you.
the difference with me and with me.
Yeah. How about this?
That's perfect.
That's okay?
Yep.
All right, cool.
James has done a little bit like that. Okay. James has
You're
done
talking right over it.
okay quite a bit of public speaking.
Okey-dokey.
Quite a bit.
Mhm.
I'm giving a talk on artificial intelligence tonight
To-
at my pub.
I want to go, but I
Yeah.
need a night off. And Chris is playing soccer.
Well, one way to attend is to give the talk. So I'm working and working at the
Uh-huh.
same time.
That's great.
One way to attend is to not do this and actually go.
There you go. Yeah. Flapping that trap too much, right?
I'd have to walk all by myself. Chris is playing soccer. And I don't have any friends there at all. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Bellevue Brewing and kind of your background, and then we'll get into the side hustle. And if that seat's too tall, there's a shorter one behind you.
Looks pretty good.
Okay.
That's much more comfortable.
Welcome back. It's the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo. We're going east side on us, Becky. You being an east sider.
Yes,
I've never had an east sider on my show before.
that's not true.
Actually, Carrie Van Dyke was here last week
Yes, she was.
talking about the new Herb Farm
Herb
book.
Farm.
Tell us who we have here now because he's a friend of yours.
Well, we have James Whitaker. He owns Bellevue Brewing, and he'll tell the story how that happened. And we live in Kirkland, and he's opened this adorable place, Side Hustle, and it's just a really fun kind of local community space. And so we invited him to come talk about it.
Great. Hi, James.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the Hot Stove Society radio show.
Nice to be the second East Sider on your show.
I know, exactly. Well, now that there's a mass transit heading to the east side, I can get over there.
Yeah, and the Spring District stop is right by Bellevue Brewing.
Is
so
it?
it's about a 1-minute walk.
Perfect.
Yes,
Perfect.
indeed.
Have you taken it yet?
I have. Yeah, it doesn't really go that far between Bellevue and Redmond, but eventually it'll connect to Seattle on the west and Snoqualmie on the east. So it'll
Wow.
be all the way to Mountains of the Sound kind of thing.
Wow, fun.
Awesome.
All right, tell us about your life, James.
Well,
How did you get to be doing this? Because I think
this-
you're one of those smarties that actually decided to do something stupid and get in the restaurant business.
Yeah, what do they say? The way to make a small fortune in the restaurant business is to start with a large fortune.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been in tech my whole life. I brewed beer in graduate school and sold it to my classmates in order to pay some bills.
Nice.
But this food stuff is totally new to me.
So what do you do? Tell us about your history. You're FBI, Google.
Yeah, so I've got a PhD in computer science. First computer scientist hired by the Federal Bureau of Investigation back in 1987. And then I was a professor for a while, did my own startup in computer security, contracts with the NSA and all that spooky stuff. You mentioned Bush, so I can talk about.
You were around at
these
that
sorts of
time.
things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then Microsoft brought me out here and quit Microsoft and went to Google. And then quit Google and went back to Microsoft. We call that the profitable U-turn.
Mhm.
And then retired in 2019, right before the pandemic, when I should have kept working because everybody was retired then and still getting paid.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, missed that one.
Missed that
Yeah,
opportunity.
missed that one.
You
yeah.
seem too smart for that. You didn't see the pandemic coming?
I did not
The
see
rest
the
of us
pandemic.
sure did.
I give lectures on predicting the future. I'm giving one tonight on artificial intelligence at my Side Hustle Tap Room in Kirkland. And I can predict the future of tech, but nothing else.
Okay. You've brewed beer as a hobbyist. Any tricks that you learned getting started? Because so many people want to get started, but they think that they have to start at the big level when it's actually can be done in your home kitchen.
Yeah, 5 gallons at a time. I started, I accidentally had a Sam Adams Boston Lager in what might have been something around 1990-ish, maybe 1989, at a party. And I drank it, and it was just this revelation of flavor. I had been drinking Budweiser and what we call yellow beers for, my entire drinking career, which at that time was only a few years. And so the unavailability of it in Tennessee, where I was going to graduate school, forced me into the homebrewing shop trying to brew that specific beer, that specific flavor. And I nailed it. It took me 4 or 5 batches, but it was really good. And I sold it. It cost at the time, about 5 cents to brew a bottle, just in terms of ingredients, not counting my labor. I was in graduate school. Labor's free.
Labor's free. Exactly.
and so I would turn around and sell it for $2 a bottle, and paid a lot of my bills during graduate school.
I did something similar when I was in school. I bought Boone's Farm by the case because I was the biggest guy in my class that could get served at
without getting carded.
Country booze stores. Yeah. And I would buy it by the case and then sell it to my friends.
Do you remember Boone's Farm Tickle Pink?
Tickle Pink?
Yeah. It was very unmemorable.
We had Boone's Farm and we had Ripple. Those were the two that I remember. I remember moving on.
No Madeira. That was a good one.
Matus and Leafer Milk were the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blue Nun.
It's nice to grow up, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think about brewing beer kind of like I think about making cheese, right? There's cultured things going on. There's different toast on the malts. There's all sorts of little identities of the beer that kind of show up in your process. How did you figure out what it took Sam Adams to get into their beer?
Well, mine was very much trial and error, and I was limited in the ingredients I could buy from that tiny little homebrew store in the Smoky Mountains. And so, I was limited in ingredients, but I got pretty close. Fortunately, it's a hoppy beer, and hops are kind of the out in the brewery world.
They cover up mistakes.
Yeah. And that's why IPAs are so prevalent. People like them, so we brew them. But a lot of beers will start their lives as something else and end up as an IPA because something went wrong during the process. This is why I am not my own brewer at Bellevue. I have a professional, and he is. Tony Powell is one of the best brewers in the area, and he's a chemist. He understands these processes because yeast is, it's a living organism,
right?
And you're not just dealing with this inert set of meats and vegetables that you try to make flavorful. These little guys are temperamental, and you have to control them very, very carefully. And of course, we keep our cultures from batch to batch and propagate our own strains and trying to get flavors that no other local brewery can have.
Well, I was invited to invest in Bellevue Brewing originally.
Were you? By
but
John.
It wasn't by you.
Yeah.
What happened to John? And did you buy the brewery then?
So John Robertson and Angie Robertson started Bellevue Brewing back in 2012. They were the first brewery, local brewery to be built. Yeah. And so I started drinking there. I was a writer, and I like drinking at the end. I'm like writing at the end of a bar. And I sat at the end of his bar and I wrote 2 books, and one of them turned out to be a bestseller. So I thought, this bar is,
good luck charm.
Good luck.
Yeah, I made a little money here. And I found out John was in a little bit of financial trouble. There's a lot of moving parts to a brewery. And I bailed him out. It was the easiest thing to do in the world. He had this atrocious bank loan. I think it was 18% or something like that.
God.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
And so, I could get money at the time for 2%. And so we agreed on 5%. I was making a little bit of money. He was saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then the story just takes a sad turn. John passed away in 2017.
Yeah.
And so I'm left, with this unprofitable brewery, and I converted my shares to equity, and lo and behold, my loan to equity, and
Right.
lo and behold, I own a brewery.
Yeah.
And so John's widow, Angie, and I run the brewery, day-to-day
Awesome.
operations.
It's a
Yeah.
really sweet spot. It's gorgeous outside, big patio, and you feel like you're in a park.
So we did something different there. So we're not talking about the original,
the
Bellevue
original.
Right.
Brewery
Okay.
location.
The original
in
was
Waltham.
like right off of Northwarp Way.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Kind of a little industrial area. We still
Mhm.
have that. We still brew beer. We subleased our kitchen to Cascadia Pizza Company. But we took a chance on the Spring District, brand new, urban area in Bellevue, just kind of right on the edge of downtown, light rail stop. And so, you have to it's got to look good. It can't just be an industrial brewery. I think it's the most upscale brewery on the east side, maybe the most upscale brewery in this entire area. Seats are comfortable. Better than this one, by the way. You guys just need to work on
That
this a
one's
little
washable.
bit.
You're in the kitchen, remember? Yeah.
And so and then we do something that very few people in the whole world do outside the Czech Republic. We put our beer in these giant serving tanks, these 1,000-liter copper serving tanks that are suspended above our bar. We have 10 of them, and so the beer is
It's pretty.
brewed on
Yeah.
site,
Yeah.
pumped directly into those tanks, and then into your pint. So
Wow.
we're quite proud of it.
Awesome.
The Spring District, it seems to me like it's already been through ups and downs, just like the stock market, right?
Oh,
You've
yeah.
got Mega out there, and you've got all sorts of people that have taken space, given up space, taken more space.
Yeah, we signed it when we signed our lease. REI was the anchor tenant.
REI was
Mhm.
already
And then
in
by
and
the
out
time
of
the
there.
ink was not even dry, Facebook took it over, and then Facebook changed their name to Meta,
Yeah.
and they have free food, so they're the worst neighbors ever.
Oh,
Yeah.
the worst.
Yeah, and it's
I mean,
good
we,
free
we
food.
love the company, but that whole thing where it just takes away from all the neighborhood when they
does,
don't let
yeah.
their employees out and about.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah.
So, and then there's another software company moving in. They have free food. So, if you're a software company and you don't offer free food, and you'd like to co-locate near a brewery, talk to me.
Well, it's one of the things we always loved about Amazon was that they wanted their employees to go out in the neighborhood, create a neighborhood space, and be part of our hood. Whereas some of the other ones, Google, Facebook, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
have always wanted to keep it internalized. And I find it disheartening. I talked to the board of Facebook when they were here, and they just don't agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Google
Keep people at
started
their
it.
desk.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, when we come back, let's talk a little bit about the restaurants and the all the things that you're doing with the Scratch Kitchen and with the tavern, and you got so much going on, dude.
Yes, indeed.
We're in the house.
How's retirement?
Yeah, we're in the house with James Whitaker, owner of Bellevue Brewing, Side Hustle Tap Room, and Scratch Kitchen in Kirkland. When we come back, Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
Pardon?
Is your primary? Love it. How many places do y'all have now?
How many places do we have now? 7, 8?
7 or 8?
now?
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a lot of catching up to do. I'm opening a new one in Bothell in September.
Oh, really?
Yeah, another side hustle.
Have you named it yet?
Not really. We're, the side hustle name I have, it started out as a true side hustle,
Right.
just a place to sell my beer.
Right.
And but everybody loves it.
Yeah.
And so, the next place is going to be, full kitchen, not just our little bakery, but, so we've been talking about names, but everybody, no, it's got to be side hustle. It's got to be side. So I don't know.
SILUS.
Side hustle,
Oh,
like
side
your
hustle,
side job.
yeah.
Yeah.
Side hustle. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you retire and then you have a side
youngster
hustle.
term. Oh, yeah? All right. Have you been to Bellevue Brewing yet? Okay, good. All right. I like it. Go on the audience.
Yeah. Feel free to buy her anything she wants. All right, we're back here with James Whitaker. He's the owner of Bellevue Brewing, Side Hustle Tap Room, and Scratch Kitchen in Kirkland. You have been busy in your retirement. We learned in the last segment that you are a tech hound. You're still doing some tech work. You're giving an AI talk tonight in Kirkland. Is that right?
That's right.
And can people? Well, people aren't going to hear this except
Till
for a few
tomorrow.
on Facebook. So, oh, that's tomorrow even
Uh-huh.
on not Facebook on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Mhm.
So never mind that. Belver Brewing Company Spring District's Brew Pub, the largest outdoor dining patio in Bellevue. You've got a lot going on. You said you're talking about doing something else up in where?
Bothell.
Bothell.
Yep. We
There's a
should
lot
open.
going on up there in that whole center city area.
It's going crazy, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be right in the thick of that with a restaurant and tap room and speakeasy.
Oh.
Yeah, we were going all out on this one. This will be our flagship place.
So let's talk about Side Hustle Tap Room and Scratch Kitchen. What brought those on, and what would I find there if I was to head in?
Well, the idea behind Side Hustle is to just sell more of our beer. It came out of two frustrations. The first is if you want good beer, you end up having to trek into some industrial area on the east side. Not a lot of breweries you can walk to. Not a lot of good beer you can get in walkable areas. So if you want a good beer, you drive to the industrial area. If you want a good experience with a good restaurant, you go to downtown area. And I just was flummoxed. Why is there no good beer in the walkable downtowns?
Mhm.
And so that was the first factor. And then the second was that after COVID, all the distributors abandoned all the little breweries. So before COVID,
Did you say abandoned?
abandoned.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I mean, they had no problem before COVID driving around and picking up beer from 12 different small breweries,
Mhm.
loaded it into their truck, and then selling it at grocery stores and bars. After COVID, they said, nope, they dropped us all. And now they go back it up to one giant brewery, fill the truck there, and then they go out and sell it. And so
I see.
you've seen at the bars and the stores a rather remarkable reduction in choice because of this. And so I needed to sell more of my beer. So what better customer than myself to buy it?
Loretta, you're a beer drinker. I'm not so much. Have you noticed a change in selection?
A little bit. I think I probably am a beer drinker in the sense of like I pick one thing. I'm not like an exploratory beer drinker.
I know. A
would
case
say.
a day. A case a day is a lot.
I'll pick like one or two things that I know that I like and always buy the same. My
Mhm.
husband's more of like he wants to try different things out all the time. But honestly, like we can't drink anymore because we're too tired.
Three
Put
babies
us
under
right
three,
to
yeah.
sleep.
Yeah. That'll do it.
But
Well, I'm not a beer drinker, but I love the Side Hustle. I love walking there. When we go out to dinner, we usually end up going through there anyways. And I'm not a beer drinker, but you've got lovely wines.
Lovely wines
And non-alcoholic
yeah,
drinks
and so
too,
one of my
and-
business partners, Donna Sarkar, she is a wine enthusiast, and she
Mhm.
came in and looked at our selection. She said, "You've got good wines, but you don't have enough of them, and you don't have enough variety." So when we did our kitchen renovation, we also built a little wine cave.
Mhm.
It's a really cool little
It is
area.
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of dark and lovely and quiet. And so we've got wine from Cave B. I bought their entire back stock. And it's really good wine. That's probably about the furthest away I've gone. I've got 425 Cellars, 2 Vintners, there's City Limits, several more, and wines for And I made pricing easy because wine kind of drives me crazy with prices, and so it's either $12 for the house or $15 for all the expensive ones, and so it's a risk. I know that's why a glass of wine is expensive, is
Mhm.
because you never know if you're going to use the rest of the bottle or not. But we're rocketing through it, and then whatever we don't use, we cook with. So we have zero waste in our wine. But yeah, in fact, for the first time ever in March, I believe it was, my wine sales equaled my beer sales.
Wow.
In dollars.
Mhm.
And so I sent that to Donna, and she's like, "Yeah, I told you so. I told you so."
She's a feisty one, that Donna.
She's a
Yes,
feisty
she
one.
is.
Yeah.
It's I would go to many more beer halls if they would put a little effort into their wine. I just want to get a nice glass of wine. I'm not a beer guy, but
Mhm.
the people I hang out with, like Loretta, would much prefer or would be happy to have a beer, and I'm just not.
Yeah, and you,
Well,
you don't
and-
see it. And
It's not
so-
that hard.
So that's why at Bellevue Brewing, and we'll do this in Bothell as well, is we have really high-end cocktails as well. And so you end up keeping people a lot longer,
Mhm.
because a beer drinker will go in with a wine drinker into an ordinary brewery, and the wine drinker will be like, "Can we leave now? Can we leave now? Can we leave now? Can we leave now?" And so people stay. We're
Mhm.
seeing people, the amount they're spending goes up, and the amount of time they stay goes up. So
I also think of breweries and brew halls and tap rooms as having cultivated a certain vibe, if you will. And I think people want that vibe, but they still want a glass of wine. And so you want that like big, comfortable, approachable space. And I don't tend to think that you get wine bars that are that way. Like a wine bar tends to be something else in people's minds. So, yeah, it's interesting to me that more people haven't gone the route of.
well,
like,
I'm
a
trying to work
great-
with some of my
yeah.
wine partners to, you know, quid pro quo. I've got all this wine now. I've got great beer and great wine. You've got great wine. What about some beer?
Ah,
You know,
yeah.
Give us, come on, give us thirsty
Well, if you
person
keep
something.
talking about our wine prices being so high, I know what it costs to make a pint of beers, sir. And come on now.
Well, what I also love about your space is you've got games. You also do live music.
We do
and-
music, we do comedy, we do lectures. You know, we have storytelling night, open
Yeah.
mic night, and it's kind of an event space. And you know, we do a lot of private parties too. We do, for whatever reason, 50 years old seems to be our magic number. We have probably 4 or 5 50-year-old birthday parties where they just rent out the space and,
Mhm.
and come in and have a good time.
It's
So-
great. And every time you go, it's like a neighborhood place.
Yeah.
So
It's your Cheers bar.
it's our
Yeah.
Cheers bar. And it's a
Yes.
great location. Not right now with all the construction going on in Kirkland, but it's a great location.
Yeah. Kirkland decided to dig up the road and
right in front of you.
and
no
solve a
doubt.
problem that didn't exist.
We,
so.
we know all about that over at Neb, our wine
Yes,
kind of
you do.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That 50-story condo has been going on for almost 4 years already.
So what's happening in the kitchen?
So the kitchen was tough. We had designed the first kitchen we designed required a hood, and the hood required, the hood has a very heavy piece of equipment that goes on the roof of the building, and it turns out that the roof of the building wouldn't support it. So we had to pivot and do self-venting appliances, and so we ended up going hard on bread as the staple. We make and bake our own focaccia bread, and it's absolutely to die for. We'll stuff it sandwiches, Roman style street food. We'll serve pizzas with it, and we've really perfected that bread. I think it's something I'm really proud of.
Can
And
we give Doug Watkins credit?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Let's give Doug Watkins credit, and Annie as well. Annie came over and consulted on our first day of baking.
Nice.
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 So it's your Cheers bar. Loretta, do you have a Cheers bar in your neighborhood?
Not anymore. I had one
Move.
when I lived in Green Lake.
Uh-huh.
Time to
Um,
move.
But I don't have one in Magnolia, I would say.
The Gimois is in your neighborhood,
I know. That's more yours than mine. Mine was Lenny's when I lived in Green Lake. That
All
was
right.
like
Mine is the
my
Thirsty
ultimate-
Fish up on Holman Road.
ultimate
They
dive.
should carry your beer.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
should.
they sell a lot of beer.
Tommy, me and you should team up and give your girl here a local pub she can go to.
Right,
Magnolia,
exactly.
Yeah,
Don't you
open
think?
in Magnolia, please. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
that's my sphere.
Let us know when you see a good spot come up.
There's one
Mm-hmm.
available.
Oh,
right
there
now.
we
can
go.
talk after.
But you've got plans for Bothell and then Woodinville.
And then
next?
Woodinville, yeah.
And then
There's
maybe
a
Magnolia.
giant harvest development that's going in over there. A bunch of high-end restaurants and wine, and I will be the oasis of beer in all of Harvest.
Awesome.
That sounds smart.
Yeah. If you drive by it, it's the construction is crazy.
What in your mind, before we run out of time, what makes a great beer? What does it have to have? I know they come in a million flavors. People brew all sorts of things, but are there 3 or 4 things that make a great beer, from the carbonation level to the type of hops to the roast on the barley? I mean, what makes a great beer in your mind? Because I'm a lager person or a Pilsner type person if I'm going to drink beer.
Well, you should definitely have our Pilsner. We win awards with it every time we enter it into a competition. It's generally known as one of the best Pilsners in the area. A good beer is a complexity of flavor. It's a
Mhm.
real dance between it's only 4 ingredients. It's water, malt, which is grain, right? Malted grain, hops and yeast. And so it's very simple but it's that combination of flavors you get, picking the malt and a yeast that goes well with the malt, right? Because the yeast eats the sugars from the malt. Picking a hop flavors that go well with it, and there's some just time honored. Beer is old. It's been around for 10,000 years, And so there's some very time-honored regions that, you know, you brew to try to mimic those. Czech
Mhm.
Republic, Germany, English ales, Scottish ales, Irish stouts. And so, you know, remaining true to those, but being creative and finding that right balance. And so, you know, that's why you know, good beer places will have a bunch of taps. I think 12 is probably the absolute minimum you could have, and have, you know, somebody come in and not say, oh, you don't have a beer I like, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, we have 19 at Bellevue Brewery, and I'll have 28 in Bothell. I have 12 in Kirkland. And so that variety, if you have a multi-palate, you have a hoppy palate.
And that changes by the day, right? Or changes by what you're eating.
It changed for me a lot more when I was younger. You mentioned your husband liking, you know, a lot of variety. I was like
Mhm.
that when I was in my 30s. And then in my 40s, it started to sort of coalesce on a few styles. And now I just like dark malty beers. And
Mhm.
maybe it's just because I'm an old man in my 50s now. But, you know, finding those beers and watching customer reaction. You know, my brewers love to, you know, the last thing they would want is this big industrial brewery and having their bar somewhere else.
Mhm.
They like to brew beer, walk in, sit at the counter, and listen to people, you know, talk about their beers and enjoy their beers. And you know, it's hitting that, you know, obeying those traditions in the beer world, because that's what people expect, and then experimenting on top of that. If you have enough taps, you can have those staples and the experimental varieties.
So fun.
Nice.
You
I can't wait
agree.
to go. Yes.
Yeah, you agree. We'll have to have a field trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Radio show
absolutely.
field trip out there. so.
Yeah, we'll do a little show and tell on a brewery tour.
And then Becky can walk in like,
I'll
This
have you
is-
over for dinner.
this is my place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? All right, you're going to stay with us for one more segment.
Sure, sounds
We're going
great.
to try and get you before you get a parking ticket. It's time for Food for Thought Tasty Trivia, brought to you by Rub with Love Spice Rubs. And we'll have to hear more about those when we come back on Cairo. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Okay, we'll just jump in. Okay. Good job.
Want me to stay here or not?
Yeah,
Nope,
right there
we're
is
gonna-
good.
We're gonna get you out before you're.
All right, we're back with James Whitaker, owner of Bellevue Brewing. We're going to jump right into Food for Thought Tasty Trivia. It's brought to you by Rub with Love Spice Rub line. We're having a flash sale on our website through May 12th in honor of Mother's Day. Stop by TomDouglas.com for 25% off our delicious rubs and sauces. And we want to make sure to mention a couple of new retail partners of the Fisherman's Daughter at Dockside Fish Market in Grand Marais, Minnesota. How about
Wow.
that?
Across the country.
Why not? Okay, Becky, how do we play and what's going to happen here?
Okay, we got 3 contestants. We got James Whitaker as our guest, and each of you are going to get 5 questions, and the winner will pick out someone in the audience to shop and get a 3-pack of Rub with Love spices.
There you
So
go.
there we go.
Their choice.
Their choice. Lots to choose from. And we're going to start with Loretta.
Okay.
Now you're on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Here we
I
go.
didn't like being in your chair for trivia. So
Oh, okay.
I'm
She
glad
was
you're
so
back.
tentative when she was administering the test because
Aw.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're in your happy space now.
Okay.
Okay. Starting with a little food in the news, is the following a true or made up recent headline? This Costa Rican grown designer pineapple can set you back nearly $400.
True.
That is true. Del Monte announced its Ruby Glow pineapple that was released in Asia earlier this year to coincide with Lunar New Year and is now available in the US. It's kind of got a red jewel tone and the same yellow flesh.
Great.
I don't get it. Number 2.
Like a pink grapefruit.
Yeah. Chop jay is a traditional Korean dish that translates to mixed vegetables. It's a sweet and savory dish that is based on what type of noodle?
It's a sweet potato noodle.
You got it. And it's called a Korean glass noodle. Yeah, nailed it. Number 3, what type of popular herb comes in varieties such as Cuban, Greek, Mexican, and Italian?
Oregano.
Wow, you're in the right seat. Okay, number 4, can you please tell us what a chinois is used for?
A what?
A chinois?
Is that like it's like the ricer, the masher?
It's a French word also known as a china cap, representing the conical shape. What does it do?
I don't know.
Well, Terry used it a lot. It sieves through it.
Oh,
it
like
makes-
a sieve. Okay.
Yes,
I was thinking,
fine
yeah.
sieve. 4
What
out
was
of
I think? What is the
I was going to help you, but then I realized you were already 3 up on me.
Yes,
so
yes. All right, final question. Worldwide, are there more varieties of edible mushrooms or names of shapes of pasta?
Woo, that's a hard one.
More varieties of edible mushrooms or names of shapes of pasta. I'm
Mhm.
gonna go edible mushrooms.
You got it. And it's when you think about it, it's over 3,000.
Yeah.
And there's over 350 pasta shapes. So
Great.
good job. 4 out of 5.
All right.
Okay, James, you see how it's done?
Yeah, and I'm not comfortable with it at all.
You're going to nail.
These are going to be beer questions, right?
I wasn't that planning ahead.
Not that generous with you.
No. All right, number 1.
She's still on a barge somewhere in Burgundy.
Can you please tell us if the following is a true or made up recent headline? Milan is trying to ban late night pizza and ice cream sales. Is that true or false?
That's got to be false.
It's actually true. According to Euronews, a
That's
size,
where I'm going to Milan in 2 weeks.
well, I don't know if this is going to, they're complaining
They're
about
ti-
it.
They're
And
tired of the noise in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if
Hmm.
passed, this ban will apply to 12 districts.
It was the tourists.
It's, yeah.
They
so-
ruin everything.
well, you have the opportunity to not be a part of that this time. Just party it up.
Go to Peck.
all right.
Peck.
Loud?
No, it's a beautiful grocery
Oh, in Milan.
in Milan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Number 2, what food is said to absorb bitter flavors from metal utensils? Connoisseurs will often eat it using spoons made of bone, ivory, or mother of pearl.
Hmm.
Where
Lavender?
where do fish come from?
Caviar.
Good job,
Yay.
James. Nice work. Okay, number 3, is soju a popular Japanese snack, or is it a clear, neutral tasting Korean spirit distilled from rice, wheat, sweet potatoes, or tapioca?
Let's go with the spirit.
You got it.
All right.
Nice work. Number
Back in my wheelhouse of booze.
There we
Yeah.
go. This might be in your wheelhouse too. Number 4, what breakfast item is made from ground corn and is a staple in the southern United States?
Cornflakes?
It's a type of
Oh,
porridge.
I know. I eat this grits.
Yes,
Yeah.
grits. We'll give it to
I
you.
grew up in Kentucky.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Number 5, colanders, strainers, and sieves each have a unique purpose separating liquid from solid. Which kitchen tool has the largest holes? A colander, a strainer, or a sieve?
Let's go with colander.
You got it.
All right.
We got 4 out of 5. We got a tie.
Nice job, Jane.
Shouldn't have helped
All
you.
Tie goes to her.
All right, Tom.
Okay.
Is the following a true or made up recent headline? AI is spying on the food we throw away.
Oh, absolutely true.
That is true. Did
Yeah.
you know that?
Of course not.
It's peering into restaurant garbage pails and crunching grocery store data to figure out how to send less uneaten food into the dumpsters. I like it.
You know, it's one of those funny things when they always talk about how we throw away 30% of our food,
Right.
but you're not going to save the food off of people's plates that they don't
Yeah.
need. So the restaurant, it's on the restaurateur to serve less,
Right.
but then the customer feels like they're not getting.
It's a tough balance.
It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some 1-star reviews in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay, number 2, red Burgundy wine is made in the Burgundy region of eastern France using 100% Pinot Noir grapes. What type of grapes are used in making white wines from Burgundy?
Let me think. Chardonnay.
Yes, you got it. It's my favorite.
Is it?
Yeah,
A
Chardonnay
white
for
burgundy or Chardonnay?
sure. Chardonnay. Yep. Well, and it's now I know white Burgundy is Chardonnay. I had a bit of it recently. Number
So
3.
is Chablis.
Yes, that was the shock. Costco recently published a list of most sold products per state. On the top of the list for California, Arizona, and Illinois is Kirkland Signature Prosecco. Vermont and New Hampshire's love their fresh berries. Is Washington State's #1 selling item Trident fish sticks or food court hot dog and soda combo?
I'm going to go with the food court because that's
Yeah.
what I have.
That's what I would have done.
You don't buy enough. It's actually the Trident
sticks?
fish sticks. Yes. It's
No.
I would have
also-
guessed Trident salmon, frozen salmon fillets.
You guess, and it's the same with Washington and Virginia. Buy the fish sticks. North Dakota does the food combo.
Ah.
But good try. Number 4. What is the
The
name?
question is ketchup, mustard, and relish, or one of the above? I'm an all threer.
Next time Tom's doing the quiz.
I'm an all threer.
All 3. Wow,
Yeah.
that's bold.
Well, what's your answer? I asked you a question.
oh, plain.
Oh, plain.
Just plain. I don't
Plain?
like
Oh
plain.
my God. Who
Yeah.
are you?
Just plain and no soda.
Oh my God, get out.
Number Chardonnay.
Chardonnay only.
Yes.
In a Costco cup.
Yes. Number 4. What is the name of the Sicilian sweet and sour version of ratatouille? It's great on bruschetta.
Caponata.
Got it. Good job. Okay. Final question. Both calzone and stromboli are pizza derivatives that contain the same types of ingredients to create a portable pizza. Can you please name a difference between the two?
Between a calzone and a stromboli.
Yes. Maybe where they originated or a sealing technique. Where did they originate? What's the difference?
They're both from Philadelphia, and one's from Camden, and one is from South Philly.
Okay, you're really good. Stromboli is from Philadelphia, but calzone is actually originated in Naples as street food.
Ah.
So 3 out of 5.
I
So
got a half.
You got a half. Okay, but you still aren't in the tiebreaker.
Does that mean I still lose?
Yeah.
Okay, tiebreaker. Let's go. And I'm going to watch tiebreaker.
Okay, ready? Loretta and James. What type of food is a flageolet or flageolet?
A bean.
Got it.
Nice
All right.
job, Loretta.
Loretta's the winner.
They don't make flageolet beer, so James didn't know. James didn't know what that was.
I swear I thought you said flatulence. I didn't want to have any part of that.
If you want to be part of the show like James, you can join the community on YouTube Live at Tom Douglas & Co. or buy a ticket to join us in the studio here at the HotStoveSociety.com. The show is produced by Becky Guzak, who finally came back from France. Our technical wizard is Sean McFadden, and our talented editor at Cairo is Sean. Please don't call me Del Torre. If you miss any episode of our Hot Stove Society show on Cairo, you can listen via podcast. Just subscribe with your favorite app.
Thank you for listening.
Oh, that was so sweet.
That was nice.
Loretta, you need to pick somebody out of the audience. Are you thinking about it or what's going on?
I am thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay. We'll do the promos then. Drew, quiet, please, for a minute.
This part we have to be quiet just for 15 seconds.
Hi, I'm Chef Tom Douglas.
I'm Loretta Douglas.
Today on the Hot Stove Society radio show, we do it. We're taking on Dijon mustard with Becky being just back from France. We're going to celebrate the season with spring soups. And we play Rub with Love, Food for Thought, Tasty Trivia, along with visiting the Bellevue Brewing Company.
Great.
Thank you, Drew.
All right. Hopefully you don't have a ticket.
I'm fine.
Okay. Thank you.